elders. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Why are you doing that to Grandpa John? Hello? Chris, how are you?
No, but he's. I did, I just.
So
Oh.
Thanks, Phil.
Oh, not a problem, they do. Thanks for the heads up, because I just,
Oh, it's great.
I put it out on my desk and then walked away, and then realized I really need it here.
Thank you.
So, you don't need this.
Nothing about time. Yeah. One of the. And I, it's not, I walk. Not both. At 4 minutes and 5 minutes. But they're going to be. Yeah.
Yes. There's part of me that feels the same way. I think, oh, I'm not gonna change.
Yeah.
And to luck with this because.
Exactly. Like-minded on these things. Oh, no, what's the look cash?
The war, I didn't look at it.
It's- Check the different levels, like one pay less
Yeah.
premium,
Mhm.
or the boards in the.
Right.
I would tell them, they don't buy them. Yeah.
I have a,
Next year.
I have a health savings account that comes in handy.
Yeah, but you can use both. There was a plan where you could
Oh, really?
both the HSA and the insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are you doing here?
I believe you have 3 or 4 of our cases on the reconsiderations.
Oh, the reconsideration. Okay, I forgot about those. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, we'll see who, well, I know.
That one person.
We know one person. We can, if you want to take a shot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. We're here from one of
I just missed it. Wanted to see you. That was all.
Oh, yeah, right. Sure.
We understand.
Are you sure?
I will buy them. I think that's easier.
No, I will get it.
Process.
Have our.
Oh,
And then that's the thing, we'll be joining.
Thank you so much.
Fellow is here already. This year, try to go petition early this year.
No, well, yeah, we're not gonna wait till the last Friday. That's what it is. But we are pretty concerned about,
I have not heard from
Right, like that.
but I certainly reminded.
yeah. No, it won't be the last day, at least not there, they're gonna be, we're supposed to have a call maybe.
And what it is.
And sometimes I think if you want to match them, not.
Okay, so if you're not busy, like the city should just, you know.
Well, it's not.
That's kind of been my work.
Although I feel like getting rid of this, watching the issues. But all the work I've done.
Last
You gotta get ready.
It makes for a long day and my sister's like, so I can't, it's not worth it. I'm sorry, we have to take and make sure it's big, the guys put up, it's fine.
You're mentioning has.
Right, so.
Yeah. Because it also, you know, we're done. I sit down, they haven't done this thing, but they let them.
So that work.
Take you, yeah, right.
I mean, she's fine. So.
Yeah, I actually said it was. Yeah. Okay.
That's I hope you have a good IT person. I think it's working as Secretary of State's IT. It's a song.
Just.
Yeah. In fact, that's what. Yeah. Okay. So everyone's happy. Yeah, actually, I see the right there. That felt like the best. Even though right or wrong. That's the big. Yeah, but she thought.
No conversation.
The six or.
Yeah, you and I are so expensive.
Oh, that's all.
Because I felt the same way, I was like. Nothing else, like,
I've read the decision that. They ordered it, he had to send it. So you're gonna get that.
Oh, that's heavy.
She.
They haven't started.
Are you doing something? Sorry.
But then.
Yeah. But most of it.
How were you able to get your work done?
We'll see.
Don, this is Mitchell for from Light University.
Maybe check this, be sure.
Mr. McCall.
Steven, you guys got it pretty
They're
good.
known in this week.
Yeah.
She worked with this.
Thank you.
We will call the meeting to order of the Ohio Elections Commission for today, May 30th, 2024. First, Mr. Executive Director, can you call the roll?
Mr. Weil.
Present.
Mr. Knight.
Here.
Ms. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Stopper. Here. Mr. Caraway.
Present.
Vice Chair Hagan.
Present.
Chair Dolores.
Here.
Mr. Kirschner is not present today, and in his place is Mr. Stoutberg as the alternate.
Then we have a motion to excuse Mr. Kirschner.
So.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's been approved by a vote. 7-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting for May the 16th. Has everybody read those? And if so, if there is a motion to approve, second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. It's been moved by a vote of 6.
I think it's fine, because Mr. Sheldon knows.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go with our preliminary review. The first case is 2024-D-019, Cheney versus Densmore. Mr. Executive Secretary.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the complaint asserts that respondent did not include a proper disclaimer on certain campaign materials. We did receive a response from the respondent. I emphasized it there. I also sent a copy of both the complaint and the response to you, which gives the respondent's explanation as to why he wasn't sure if there was a need for disclaimers on materials. But after seeing what Ms. Cheney did, he did put disclaimers on the material. The complainant is not present, but the respondent, Mr. Densmore, along with submitting his responses here. If the commission would like to hear from him further, we can certainly have him sworn, and he can make any additional statement that the commission would want to hear.
There's been.
Sir.
Yes, please come forward and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So I understand that you received my notarized statement, and I was going to read that for the record. My name is Stephen Densmore. This past November, I ran for mayor of the Village of Gulf Manor, Ohio. I'm writing in response to a complaint filed by my opponent, Jan Cheney, concerning an alleged violation of section 3517.20, which reportedly occurred in August of last year. I'm unclear on whether any rule violation occurred. This election was the first time I have ever made any campaign flyers or signs. Section 3517.2 states in part that, quote, no entity shall do any of the following unless the name of the entity appears in a conspicuous place on or is contained or included within the publication, end quote. Please note that all my campaign materials have my name conspicuously on them. The photos of my campaign materials that Ms. Cheney has submitted provide evidence of this. My campaign was entirely self-funded, as documented in my campaign finance reports. I'm the sole member of my campaign finance committee. All my campaign materials were made by me, no one else, and all my materials had my name conspicuously on them. Sometime in August 2023, I noticed Ms. Cheney had retroactively taped additional statements on her signs listing a campaign finance committee. I subsequently updated my materials as well to include such statements. Again, I question whether section 3517.20 actually requires my adding these stickers, but I did add them just to be safe. I have copies and pictures of my campaign materials which document that they were updated in this way. In summary, I never knowingly violated any rules and explicitly added additional statements on all my campaign materials in case my previous statements were not sufficient. Thank you for considering my statements in your deliberations on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Densmore. Any questions of the witness? Don't appear to be any questions. Mr. Executive Director.
Madam Chair, my recommendation is to find violation, but for good cause not impose a fine or refer the matter for further prosecution.
Their motion. Their second.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Densmore. And next, we're going to move to case number one.
You want to do, what do we do? Do those and then you know, go back.
Okay, we're gonna move to the reconsiderations. And the first case is number 77 on your agenda. It's case number 2023 S-005. These are all Secretary of State matters, so we'll take that one first.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, members of the commission, this I would look at as kind of a standard reconsideration case when the commission originally took the matter up. The report was not filed, and so my recommendation was to find violation and per diem fine. Subsequently, the party filed the reports, reached out to the commission to request reconsideration. And so I put it back before the commission. My recommendation is to reconsider the matter, vacate the previous imposition of a per diem fine, and instead impose a fine of $100.
Mr. Katz.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Brian Katz from the Ohio Secretary of State's office. Along with me is Alexis Palumbo, our campaign finance administrator, and Mitch Brewer, a summer intern in the office, coming to observe how government operates. With the Franklin County Libertarian Party, our office had filed 2 complaints, one against the restricted fund, one against the state candidate fund. Am I correct? This is the restricted fund account. And I asked that because I don't show that they have filed their reports. They have since attempted to file locally, which is not permissible. Restricted funds that have received corporate contributions must have been filed with our office. But regardless, they still haven't filed locally. While they have filed a designation of treasurer locally, they have not filed reports. And so we would not recommend reducing the fine until they actually come into compliance for filing the reports. Thank you.
Right here. I was trying to.
Okay, help me understand a little better what's going on here.
Sure. So our office has referred the Franklin County Libertarian Party of Ohio for both its restricted fund, which was case 2023 S-005, as well as the state candidate fund, of which I was not able to find that case number quickly this morning. The state candidate fund has filed reports late, so they have since come into compliance. The restricted fund, though, has created a designation of treasurer form using the local Board of Elections website, but has not filed campaign finance reports either with our office nor online with their Franklin County Board of Elections. And so, as far as we are aware, they are still missing the reports that we originally alleged were failed to have filed, which were the 2021 and 2022 semi-annual and annual reports.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, Mr. Richter, it sounds like there are two separate complaints here and that we only have one.
That's correct. And it is for the restricted fund. And I guess part of my recommendation went back to, I was taking them at what they submitted to us. I don't know, you probably haven't seen the response, but what they submitted to us, where they have it says open but not submitted.
Correct. So when you open a report to create a report, it says open, but then the but not submitted part lets you know you haven't actually filed it yet. So you have created a report that is open in the system to add your contributions, expenditures, and other information, but then you actually have to submit a report before the board or the public can see your report.
Is there, do you know why they've not had it then submitted, I guess is what I would say, because part of my recommendation went back to, I'm presuming they had some sort of problem and I was trying to help them work through this problem.
No, we are not aware.
We tried refiling the reports again and were prevented by the alert. Your committee's designation of treasurer has not been filed.
So in order to file at the local level using the online process, you have to submit a designation of treasurer form requiring you to have the people electronically sign that form. However, I have seen both of these entities, and I can tell you they both have filed their designation treasurer form. So that excuse at least doesn't seem to apply. I can tell you they filed them. Actually, I guess that first one. They filed the first one January 29th, 2024, and then updated it. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. So they filed the first one October 9th, 2023, and then updated it January 29th of this year.
Mr. Katz, that's for the
Yes.
restricted.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Restricted fund only.
So they still aren't in compliance, Mr. Richter.
It would appear not to. Well, I was kind of taking that into consideration. But you know, they using what they had submitted as a part of what they printed out. But what you're saying is they're still not on your system, they're on the county system, trying to file that way.
So they are attempting to file through the local filing system, which then transmits data to our website so that our office can post both the statewide and the local filers that that file electronically. And so right now, no member of the public could go onto our site and see their data because they haven't actually submitted it yet.
What will it take for them to submit this?
So if they've actually finished entering their information, they just need to click the submit button.
And you're not aware if that's been indicated to them or not?
You hold on one second. I believe someone has spoken, one of our examiners has spoken with them at length and before. trying to
Yeah, I
help
see
them
a
out,
name
but-
mentioned in here, and I just didn't want to get into that on the record.
Thank you. Good morning. Again, Alexis Palumbo, Campaign Finance Administrator and Counsel for Campaign Finance Unit Secretary of State's Office. Our team has at length attempted to work with this committee, both a third party that's not associated with the designation of treasurer and the treasurer themselves. However, they have not been following our directions and guidance. So we did at least get them to file at the state level. They're having difficulty or resistance either filing this locally, the restricted fund, or at least filing it with us. We have repeatedly told them what to do, given them the credentials to do so. And at this point, for why they're not submitted, I can't speak for why they're not submitted. But we have, from my perspective, spoken with individuals, and also one of our examiners has at length.
Yes, I have a question. So. Obviously, outside the weeds here, but I mean, is the data entered and ready to be submitted? Or that seems to be in question? I mean, is it just a matter of hitting the submit button and they can't or won't do that? Or like, what is the logical disconnect that seems to be happening? Are they just resisting that they need to do the state level and only want to do local? I mean, I don't.
It's possible. There were conversations believing that they only had a state level account versus a restricted fund. We had conversations about that, what the differences were between a restricted fund and a state fund. We've explained the differences at length and given them all the information that they need to properly file at the correct venue.
Has it been, difficult to work with, like refusing to do things, or are they just not able to internalize what you're
I
communicating?
think they're having difficulty understand there might be too many people involved on their end of things, and perhaps confusing information and conversations. But at this point, I do know we have made contact with the actual treasurer listed on the designation of treasurer, who is the one supposed to submit these reports. So all of the credential information and directions have been given to the treasurer to attempt to file these outstanding reports.
Any other questions? Richter?
I recommend we continue the matter. And try and help them work it out in some manner or form.
Motion?
Can you just continue?
Okay, all right.
Unless you want a motion.
No.
Correct.
We'll just continue. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Colombo, Mr. Katz.
Yeah.
The next one we're going to go to is another one for the Secretary of State's office. It's number 78 under reconsideration. Case number 2023 S-015. Mr. Richter.
This is Amy Morrow, and she's a rather lengthy response, in which she was indicating, more or less, it sounds like she ran into some folks that gave her some bad information on what was needed as it related to running a campaign in general, campaign finance reporting in particular, based on the response that she submitted. You can see my explanation in the worksheet. Asserting that the individual took advantage of the new candidate's ignorance, campaigning, did not form already within her name. And, she indicated where that her expenditure mainly came from her and her father is what she was asserting in her statement. My recommendation is to reconsider the matter, vacate the previous imposition of the per diem fine and instead impose a fine of $50.
Mr. Katz.
Good morning. The Secretary of State's office has no objection to the executive director's recommendation.
Second. The moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It's been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is reconsideration It's number 79 on your agenda. It's case number 2023 S-028. Mr. Richter?
This is another interesting situation. That lady actually came into the office, where she was saying that the last election that the individual actually ran was about 10 years ago. And she kind of recited to me and then put it into writing, I guess I'd say the various trauma, et cetera, that what she was experienced as the candidate. Her husband has passed away in the intervening period. And so she's now indicates they come into compliance, filed the reports, and is requesting reconsideration. My recommendation is to reconsider the matter, vacate the previous position of the per diem fine, and find that good cause is present, not to impose a fine or refer the matter for further prosecution.
Mr. Katz?
The Secretary of State's office has no objection to the Executive Director's recommendation. Thank you.
Very much. A motion?
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
make the motion to accept the case at that recommendation.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Thank you very much. And Mr. Katz, I believe that's it.
So I believe you also have 76 on your agenda.
No.
This is also-
This is number 76. I apologize as well. Mr. Richter?
Let me find it. Okay, see, says due to a change in staffing and banking issue, orders we will able to make the required filings for a period of time until recently. So the committee is now in compliance. Oh, I have to make this number. They reflected a filing of November 27th, 2023, and there are various, you can see all the reports that are outstanding. My recommendation is to reconsider the matter, vacate the previous imposition of the per diem fine, and instead impose a fine of $100.
Mr. Katz?
Thank you. Again, no objections from the Secretary of State's office to the Executive Director's recommendations. Thank you very much.
Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Been approved by a vote of 7-0. Thank you very much. Secretary of State's office, and congratulations, Mr. Intern.
Thank you. Enjoy the summer.
Okay, we're gonna go back to
My doctors.
case number under the $50 fine category. Case numbers, it's number 62. It's case number 2024 2022 2024 R-221. And Mr. Richter?
Madam Chair, members of the commission. This is a referral for failure to file a 23 annual report, which was filed on March 7th. A response was submitted, which the candidate essentially was planning on just running the 2024, but he set up this committee in 2023, not realizing that would obligate him to file a 2023 annual. Because the report was filed more than 10 days to 2 weeks late, my recommendation on the case is to find a violation and impose a fine of $50. Mr. McTighe is present on behalf of the respondent if the commission would like to hear further from him.
I'm Don McTighe on behalf of the respondents. The additional fact I would point out is that the committee, the candidate registered the committee on December 15th. He was anticipating, that he was going to start fundraising in January. He wanted to basically get the committee registered, which he did. But then he didn't realize he had to file an annual report. He didn't become aware of the failure to file until he got the letter from the commission. He then immediately filed a 0 report, which is attached to his affidavit. And based on that, I respectfully request that the commission find good cause not to impose a fine.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. McTighe? If not, Mr. Richter?
I state with my recommendation, I appreciate Mr. McTighe's arguments. Again, due to the manner in which, or the lateness, I guess I would say, kind of taken I don't want to phrase it, a more stern circumstance as it relates to imposing fines on these kind of matters. And so I'm sticking with my recommendation, find a violation, impose a fine of $50. But if the commission wants to proceed in a different manner and respect Mr. Tide's wishes, I have no problem with that.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Richter. What day did he actually file the report? What did he get noticed from us?
File it 3/7.
He filed it on March 7th. I have to look and see what, I know. Chris, you want to look at the file and see?
And it didn't look like you had any priors. Like that.
No, there are no priors. Oh, wait a minute, I see, I got the green card on April 3rd. It's actually when our notice is reflected, but he filed it earlier. Our notice, so he must have gotten something before, I would guess. Because I think Cuyahoga will send out notices to parties that they are being referred at times. It would be my guess as to why you filed it on March 7th. Because that's the date that we got the referral. That's the date that the referral was received from the board.
Yeah, looking at the commission's letter is dated March 29th. So I must have misspoke, and he must have found out about this from Rosemary Amato, the Board of Elections.
Cuyahoga sometimes will reach out to
Yeah.
persons and say, hey, we're referring you. And so it would appear to be the case
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Because what's the referral dated? What's the date on the referral? We have
That
it.
I didn't look, I mean, we got them on March 7th, so it'd probably be
Yeah.
around March 2nd, 3rd. 4th.
Right, and then he filed this March 7th, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
He got the board notified that they were referring it.
228, okay.
228.
February 28th.
So the board called him and said, yeah, we're referring you, and then he filed. Yeah, so,
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. So the April date reflects what?
He filed.
No, the April date is when he received our notice. Well, that's what,
That's
that's
just-
sort of had this green card coming back showing April 3rd.
And it would have been due on, the report would have been due when?
January 31.
31st, yeah, so it's 5 weeks late.
So January, but he was unaware, so January 3rd, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Ms. Davis.
So January 31 was the deadline for him to file. His argument is that he wasn't aware, he just started the committee and there was no activity. And the campaign finance report does reflect that for sure. It doesn't show any activity.
I don't know that he submitted the actual report.
yeah, it's attached to his affidavit.
Attached to that.
Yeah, so 1 page, 000. Yeah,
It was filed,
That,
registered late December.
Right, he filed his DOT in December.
December 15th, he filed the DOT. And then from what we're piecing together here is that he must have gotten a call from the Board of Elections Campaign Finance Division in late February because they did a referral to the commission February 28th.
Right.
He turns around because he got a verbal call probably, because that's how they do it up there. And then he filed this, within a few days.
Right.
So that was the notice that he got, and he filed it quickly, so, it's, the other thing, this is more of an academic point, I suppose. But, and I know that the commission's been striving to try to get some sort of consistency and, in terms of late filing and things like that, but, if you're 10 days late because you didn't know about it versus 15 days later or 20 days, 30 days late, it's in each instance, you didn't know about it, right? So, but in one situation, it's good cause when you didn't know about it until you filed after you found out. And then 30 days later, you find out, oh, I had to file a report. Well, it's the consistency. If you're going to go from good cause to a fine, I think should probably be based upon how much time people delayed in filing after they were notified, as opposed to simply after the report being due. that's an academic argument, I suppose, but.
When you file that designation, you're supposed to be. aware
Well,
of
yes,
all the
I know.
guidelines
And of course,
filing
all,
designation
everybody,
reports.
everybody is always supposed to be aware of the law, which means there would never be any good causes. That is one of the options that the commission,
You're gonna have a good cause. All fine.
another academic argument.
But it's still have to get in.
Any response there?
Not for me, no. I actually made a response. I made a comment, and so I should keep my mouth shut.
Any other questions from members of the commission?
I have no issue with, just going with good calls on this.
Is that a motion?
It can be.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made to accept a good cause recommendation. It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you very much.
You need to reflect that in the minutes, that it's Mr. McTighe's recommendation.
Okay, now we'll go back to the agenda, top of the agenda, where
No, we're gonna go to the last page of these.
oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
That's okay.
One,
We've been bouncing around like
Yes, we
crazy
have.
people.
okay, so last page of the agenda, which one did we do?
Because
Oh, that's right. Okay, we are moving down to the hearings, and that is cases 80 and 81. First case is 2021G-011.
And
Richard?
21
What do you want them
G
together?
012. I think I consolidated them.
Yes, they're consolidated.
Okay.
Yeah, we consolidated them at the preliminary review stage. So they've been paired up together. Mr. McTighe submitted a request to have these cases withdrawn from the commission's consideration. I circulated that to you. It was a very simple withdrawal. As you've heard me say many times, a matter can be withdrawn before the commission at any time before the commission takes it under consideration. But since we have already gone past the preliminary review stage on this matter, the commission would need to act to allow the withdrawal of these complaints. And so, considering that it is the complainant's wish to do so, my recommendation would certainly be to accept the request by the complainant to withdraw the cases.
John, do you have anything to add?
No, Don, for the record, Don McTighe on behalf of the complainants in both cases. And obviously, we're in agreement with that since we filed the request to withdraw, and I have no other points to make, academic or non-academic.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the commission? If not.
I do have a question for the director. So is it a statute that says that since it already hit the preliminary review stage, we couldn't just
Yes.
withdraw it? It's by
I can't
statute
remember
or?
the subs, I can't remember the subsection, but 3517-157 specifically states that a matter can be withdrawn from the commission's consideration at any point up until it's addressed by the commission.
I just wondered if it was a statute or if it was a
Yeah.
rule of the commission.
No,
If
it's
it's the
either-
rule, it's kind of a silly.
It's 3517B, it's 3517-157 B or C, I can't remember which. It specifically outlines that, yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion? Been moved, is there a second?
Okay.
Been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have withdrawn cases number 2021G-011 and 012 by a vote of 7-0. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to the top of the agenda. We've already taken care of number 1. We're on number group recommendations withdrawn by the Board of Elections. Cases number 2024R, they're all 2024R, 177, 209, and 219.
These matters have been withdrawn by the Board of Elections, speaking of that particular manner of dealing with cases. I will note for the record that item number 50, case number 2024 R-209, there was Mr. Delaquila was actually here before the commission before the meeting started, and I chatted with him briefly, just indicated to him that we would acknowledge things on the record, but we don't necessarily stick around, because he said he wanted to get over to the Senate's deliberations in the Government Oversight Committee as it relates to
The special session.
this special session. Yeah, so I said, go ahead, you can go ahead and get to the special session and enjoy it if you're so inclined. So those matters have been withdrawn. No further action is necessary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richter. Next section is the no violation section. There are 4 cases. They're all 2024 R. First one is -164, -185, -188, and -193. Mr. Richter.
I don't have them up in front of me right at the moment, but 2 of these cases involved matters where a report was filed on the due date, but after the 4 p.m. deadline. Commission has a long established policy standard, however you want to look at it, declaring those kind of situations a no violation when they are filed as long as the board office is open, as was the case. Another one, one of the respondents reflected that they used an overnight delivery service. And again, the commission established back in 95 or 96 a policy that says if you utilize an overnight delivery service that promises you delivery by the next day and they don't comply, that would be considered a no violation as well. And then the third one, when the respondent submitted his response to the commission, it showed the USPS's delivery to the Board of Elections office on the due date, even though the board didn't reflect it until being received either the day after or 2 days after. And so since I had from the respondent an indication that the report was at the board office by the USPS, I am recommending no violation in that case. So that's those 4 cases.
Any questions of the executive director? There.
I'll move the executive director's recommendation.
Second. Moved and properly second. Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That was approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is dismissed for failure of service. That is Charles E. Bibb Sr., case number 2024 R-199.
In the intervening period from when we first sent out the certified mail, it came back as undeliverable. The regular mail came back as undeliverable as well. And so my recommendation is to dismiss the matter for failure of service.
Madam Chair, Director, what are we serving? So the defendant cannot be found, the defendant basically escapes our jurisdiction.
Yes, unless the board can provide us with some sort of better address or some other information to which to serve. And as I look at it again, it's both came back. I said undeliverable, but both came back as listing the residence as vacant. And so under that, so sometimes I'll keep these alive and we'll try other methods of service. But when I get something like this that comes back so quickly, this is a rare one for us to just immediately do it. But
It's more of an onus on the board and to provide.
we need good information in order to properly serve somebody.
Any other questions? Do we need a motion for that as well? Okay, is there a motion? It's been probably moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is the good cause cases. We've got on page 2, 2024 R. They're all 2024 R. 161, 181, 182, 187, and 191. Mr. Richter.
These are all cases in which the report was filed late, but it was filed within 2 weeks from the due date. A response was submitted. There either were no priors or priors beyond 5 years from the date of this meeting. And so my recommendation is to find a violation, but for good cause, not impose a fine or refer the matter for the prosecution. And with all due respect to Mr. Tig's comment about notice when being the factor upon which we should make our determinations. I would argue that the due date for the filing should hold still, because you're supposed to understand when you're supposed to file campaign finance reports if you're going to be involved in the process.
Any questions of the executive director?
I feel like you two should have a debate. No?
Any recommendations?
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's been approved by a vote of 7-0. The next category is a $50 fine category. The first one, well, all of them are 2024 R. First one is 165, 183, 186, 218, and 225. Mr. Richter?
These are generally circumstances where, in all cases, a response was submitted. The response, or the submission was more than 2 weeks late. And a couple of them, you see my highlight of why I made different recommendations than others, when there may have been fines imposed or et cetera, and what influenced my recommendation in these particular cases. But my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $50. I'm going to answer any other questions the commission may have.
Any questions for the executive director?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The Executive Director. So as I'm reading, your notes on this, so as long as someone gives a response and an explanation, it helps you decide and determine if the fine should be lowered or not, because they're 2 weeks late. And if we go back to that whole discussion that you guys will debate about later, I'm not into. This, because they gave a response, is why you are choosing to do the $50 fine.
Yes, I mean, their explanations impact what I will recommend to you guys. You know, if somebody just kind of submits what I overlooked it, I'm sorry, I missed it. That's certainly not going to give me the same impetus to make a different recommendation than someone who, you know, lists the mother who passed away and the father had this and that they ran into, you know, they had an accident on the way to the Board of Elections, you know, all those kind of things that come into play. And so I try to factor all those things into my recommendations as I make my recommendations to you. Yeah. And you know, as I say, we'll get to the $100 fine category at the moment. And those are situations where maybe there was a prior, but if there's not a prior and I'm imposing a $100 fine, that's because maybe the first time before the commission, they filed a report, but they didn't give me an explanation. I have no idea. I can't make an assumption on why they weren't timely. And so the standard has kind of always been a $100 fine for those kind of circumstances where if they don't give me something on which to make a recommendation, to give me an understanding of their circumstance, I just couldn't say, okay, this is going to be a $100 fine for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the executive director's recommendation.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next are the consolidated cases. Find a violation and impose a fine of $50. And those are 2024 R, both of them, 192 and 049. Mr. Executive.
Yeah, mainly this is a $50 fine because there were two matters failed to file a post general, and I think the other one was an annual. And so taking all that into consideration, they just submit a response and they didn't think they weren't sure they had to file reports. Well, if you're going to create a committee, you gotta file campaign finance reports. And so my recommendation is to consolidate these two cases, find a violation and impose a fine of $50.
Any questions of the executive director? Is there a motion? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next are the $100 fine category. There are four, they are all 2024R. First one is 175, 179, 189, and 195. Mr. Executive Director.
Let's see, I'm looking at some of the recommendations here. 195 had prior, that was good cause. I think it was another one, that was well, 179, 175. And 179 had a prior violation with August 23, in which $50 fine was imposed, and 175 was a,
No explanation
let's change that.
on 175.
No,
That's what the ICW said.
yeah, no, there wasn't initially, but, okay, let's take, items number 179, 189, and 185 and leave out.
195.
And, oh, no, wait a minute, okay, 175, a response was submitted eventually, but he had a prior violation, in 2020, which we found good cause. And so, 175, 195, and, I think 189 all had priors. 179 did not submit a response. Instead, my recommendation for these matters, is to find a violation and post $500.
Questions of the Executive Director? Is there a motion? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
175 was in the updates.
And
It's the, I apologize.
that, any opposition? If not, that was approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is consolidation, and the first one is 2024R-162. Mr. Richter.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and address 162 and 163 because they're different acts that are essentially the same. Because they have the same circumstances surrounding them in terms of the passing of a previous treasurer, and all the various outstanding matters that we had that were consolidating here. My recommendation in 162, as you can see, is to consolidate all those outstanding cases and impose a fine of $250 based on the circumstances that I laid out. I could have put a little explanation in the updated email I sent everybody yesterday. Kind of taking into consideration the fact that we have a new treasurer and brought them into compliance with previous treasurer passing. And so I've kind of taken all that into consideration and making the recommendation here. But I would appreciate any comments that the commission members may have as it relates to my recommendation and these cases. Further, unless you're good with my recommendation.
Any questions of the Executive Director on these two cases? There appear to be no questions. Is there a recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second for case number 2024R-162. Are we consolidating?
No.
Okay,
No.
so we're going to take two separate
Yeah.
votes.
Yes.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Been approved by a vote of 7-0. The next one is 2024R-163. Mr. Richter has already explained that one as well. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, so moved.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? Thank you very much. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's been approved by a vote of 7-0. The next case is 2024R-170. Mr. Executive.
Yeah, it has a couple of priors. There's an outstanding case, and the reports have been filed, but no response was submitted. So my recommendation is to consolidate this case with case number 2023R-398, find a violation and impose a fine of $450.
Any questions of the Executive Director on this case?
And they submitted a response?
No, they did not submit.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I remember seeing
Yeah,
that.
no, they did not submit a response.
Is there,
One of the bases that I'm using on making the recommendation that I am doing.
is there a motion from the commission?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is our cases 2024 R-168, 173, and 210. Mr. Executive
Yeah.
Director.
And I'll briefly address all of the rest of the remaining cases for which there's a recommendation of the imposition of per diem fine. The reports have not been filed. I actually sent some cases that are on the continued list to the Florida elections to ask them to double check to see if reports have been filed, and I only got like 1 or 2 responses back from some of them that were filed, and those are Northeast Ohio Police, Fire, and EMS was previously a per diem fine. They did file. Beyond that, nobody else has filed. And so, my recommendations all reflect the difference from one to another is how many times they've been before the commission previously. And so in this particular case, these are generally persons that are before the commission for the first time, or maybe had one prior in which the commission made a finding of either a specific fine amount because the report was filed or a good cause. And so here I'm recommending that we find a violation and impose $25 per day, but give them the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered. But answering to the questions that the commission may have.
Any questions of the Executive Director? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approved by a vote of 7-0. The next case is 2024 R-169. Mr. Executive Director.
Certainly there are a couple of prior violations. There's a pending case or one prior violation. They did actually pay the fine as it relates to the one prior, but they have not filed campaign financial reports currently prior. And so my recommendation is to find a violation, impose a fine of $25 per day after we consolidate it with case number 2023 R-397.
Any questions of the Executive Director?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you very much. It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The vote has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Case has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next case is 2024 R-180. Mr. Executive Director.
Situation on those prior in which the commission imposed a $25 per day fine. Back again the second time, the report has not been filed. And so my recommendation is to find a violation and impose a fine of $25 per day. Give them the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered, but they make a payment of $250.
Is there a question?
And this is a local board filing, this, I'm sure.
All of these cases in today's meeting were from Cuyahoga County.
It's okay. I think she ran for.
Oh, wait a minute, no, yeah, all of these today, I think were from Cuyahoga County. I'm a little confused because I was prepping for the next meeting yesterday and the day before. And there actually are a few in the next meeting from Summit, Warren, I think, Claremont. But all of the cases in today's meeting are from Cuyahoga. Well, I will defend them in terms of, there are a lot of people that do file, but the pool is much bigger up there.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
there's a lot of that don't when it comes right down to it. They've got a lot of people that comply or come into compliance, at least in here.
Right.
But
Any questions of the Executive Director on this case?
So Madam Chair, to the Executive Director, I do have a question. If you're saying that they can come back for reconsideration in this particular case, but they have one prior, so why are you willing to allow the reconsideration? Because we're doing the $25 a day because they have not filed?
well, I always, in all these matters, we'll give them the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered as long as they file the campaign finance report. I mean, that's
But
the.
Ms. Alden isn't in compliance at all,
No.
right? I mean, she hasn't.
Correct, right. A lot of these, and I'll let you know, I started to do, it used to be, I would look at these and, eventually reach back out to the Board of Elections and say, okay, have they filed or not? But this is going way back, and actually probably up to really about 2 or 3 years ago. But now lately, not all, but most boards of elections, Cuyahoga's is very nice. Hamilton's is okay. Summit County's is pretty good. But you can go actually look and see if reports have been filed. They have online now an ability. And so like for all of these matters, I've gone online as I can and looked for myself to see if any reports have been filed. And in most cases, they haven't. And in a lot of cases, and you'll see this more probably on the next meeting in June, based on what I'm recalling from the last couple of days, there's a lot of times people just file designation of treasurers. Whether it was done in 2023 or 2017 or 2014, they file a designation of treasurer and then never follow up and don't file anything else. And so they're before the board keeps referring to us. And they reached out on a couple of different occasions, and kind of looked and said, hey, should we keep referring these folks? And, we've talked about it in the past, briefly, not in great detail, but I'll throw it out there. It's something to consider maybe at a future meeting discussion. Do we want to look at potentially saying, okay, if they haven't done anything in X number of years or something along those lines, even if all they did was file a DOT and declare somebody terminated or something along those lines. I'm not suggesting we do that right now, but I'll put that thought out there and it's something that we can discuss.
But wouldn't that just give people the incentive to not ever file?
That's a very valid point, and that's why I don't know that I'm recommending or endorsing. I'm just kind of putting it out there for more or less, I guess, an open discussion. And that you have made probably the best point that we go against doing that when it comes right down to it.
To this discussion, I do think it's valuable to say the unfortunate reality is that the training and information given to candidates is so inconsistent and uninformed that I do think people struggle a lot with that part of it. And I'm not 100% sure, even my first time running, if it was clear that because I pulled and filed the designation of treasurer, that meant I would have to do a campaign finance report. I'm just not, I don't think that our board of elections are, and I don't know who has the onus of doing that, but I don't think that they are clearly educating that, or that point is being made clear. And that seems like a consistent thing, not in Cuyahoga County, but across the state. As different people come in, that seems to always be a concern. So I don't know, but
I'll just say that I've had the same frustration. The boards of election are operating independently. I thought it was the Secretary of State's responsibility to do the education of boards of election. Some have taken it to the boards of election and done more training, others have not. But there has to be consistency because that makes it harder for even coming up with standards with our cases. When one is reaching out to candidates and calling them and saying, I'm getting ready to refer you to the Ohio Elections Commission, and then others are doing nothing. I know that when I was a candidate statewide, I saw then how dysfunctional some of the boards were across the state of Ohio. Some of them didn't even have fax machines back then, and that was a standard. So candidates and people doing business with that office couldn't connect in the same way. How is that fair? How is it timely when you get information? So I do think there's some training and, maybe it's a discussion with Secretary of State, the board association, because they also have a statewide association that could be doing standardized training for candidates as well as board of election members so that they're consistent in how they do business. Because as a candidate, you can't say you're getting fair and equal treatment across the state of Ohio if you're not getting the same set of rules and trainings. So, great point. Mr. Executive Director. We are going to move on to.
Did we ever, never? I led us down the primrose path, and went in a different direction, and so we never did act on that case.
So we do have a case before us, it's 2024 R-180. And do we have a recommendation?
Yeah.
You already gave us a recommendation.
this one, so moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The vote is approved by 7-0. Next case is 2024 R-166. This is citizens of the Cleveland Public Library, Mr.
Yeah,
Executive. Director.
another one with a number of priors, but this one is. This has been the kind of case though that. Since we're kind of going off on tangents, I'll take us down another tangential road here. Where, if you look at the worksheet, you'll see the very first case he had with them was in 2022. I vaguely remember talking to the treasurer here, where we sent violation opposed to $50 fine, which was paid. Discussed with her, the need to do, what was necessary to file prepaid finance reports. Now here we are 3 cases later where subsequent reports have not been filed. And I appreciate yours and your comments about, the board's responsibility, and I'm not trying to take away from that, but here you have a situation where you talk to somebody, you try and help them out, you get them through the first time, and, now here we got a bunch of cases that come in.
on the burden, or they know.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, okay, sorry for your luck. Here's the recommendation I'm making, which is consolidate with the outstanding case, 2023-0392. Fine violation, impose fine $25 per day, give them the ability to have the matter reconsidered with payment of $250.
Any questions of the Executive Director? Is there a motion? So moved. It was moved. Is there a second? Thank you very much. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved by a vote of 7-0. Next cases are 2024 R-200 and 206. Mr. Executive Director.
These are situations where, as I indicated, it's at least 3 failure to file cases. One is for $25 a day, the next one was for $25 per day. We give them the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered with payment for $50. Now they're back again. And so I put the 2175 reflects $25 a day from the day the report will do the annual report on January 31 until today's date. And then also $25 a day on into the future. And give them an opportunity, but give them an opportunity to have the matter reconsidered if they come into compliance and file the report. I'll glad to answer any other questions the commission may have.
Any questions from the commission? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Been approved by a vote of 7-0. The next category of cases, 2024 R, they're all 2024 R, 171, 176, 201, 207, 208, 228, 229. Mr. Executive.
And I
Director.
will add to that 174, which you see on the next recommendation down, because I screwed up and put that in the wrong category.
Okay, so 174 goes into the category.
174 as well.
Great.
These are all multiple cases, repeated circumstances where reports have not been filed. They continue to be non-compliant. And so my recommendation is to impose the maximum fine of $100 per day, which is $11,900, which reflects the number of days between January 31 annual report filing day and today's date, and continue with $100 into the future, but give them the opportunity to have the matter reconsidered if they come into compliance. I'll be glad to answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions of the Executive Director? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nay. All, the vote has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is case number 2024 R-172. Mr. Executive.
Yeah, I'm recommending be consolidated with 2023 R-400 one. Because that's outstanding. I just screwed up and put the Heights Conservative PAC under that category when it shouldn't have been there. I apologize for that mistake. And so my recommendation is to consolidate those cases. Find a violation, impose a fine of $11,900, as I indicated. That's $100 a day from the day the report was due until today's date, on $100 on the future for those two cases. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Any questions of the executive director? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved, second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? The vote has been, or the case has been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is case number 2024R-222. Mr. Executive Director.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd here, but it comes down to the same thing when a report has been filed. The reason why I'm recommending the treasurer be dismissed is when we got the, just double checking here. When we got the certified mail back on delivery to the treasurer, it reflected that the recipient was deceased. And so I'm recommending that we dismiss the treasurer here, but yet find a violation against the candidate and committee and impose a maximum fine. I'll be glad to answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions of the executive director?
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, when, Mr. Richter, when that happens, when we find out potentially that, respondent is deceased or their treasurer, we take any steps to ensure that they have in fact passed away? Because sometimes we don't, I write, I don't,
Oh, no.
Just doesn't stop.
I have not. I will admit that. I have not. There are times when I'll get
not a big deal, but you know, it's with legacy.com, it's really, really easy now to find even, their obituary and funeral parlors.
I
You know that
USPS, yeah. No way. That's another point. Here I took the USPS's reflection on the letter that was the case, but I could do that.
I learned something. I didn't know that you could go to legacy.com
All
and
the
find out.
homes, they all feed into that one. Actually, I use it to figure out, sometimes I'll have trouble remembering when someone was new and passed away. I'll just Google them, legacies, to figure out what they done.
Now, the question is, does the coroner put the same thing there? Because what about the folks that don't go through it?
Yeah, now that, Madam Chair, I can't help with.
I think we're on.
But-
We'll move on.
Like that. It's not that high, so it's that high.
So anyway, do you need a motion?
Yes, I do.
I'm happy to make that motion in a second, accept the recommendation of the executive director.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's been approved by a vote of 7-0. Next is case number 2024R-196. Mr. Executive Director.
We got a request from the Board of Elections to continue the matter. They're working with the respondent on getting this report filed. I'm going to go ahead and comment on the next couple as well.
Sure.
The one after that, continue. I got a call yesterday and an email from Mr. Heights, who was incredibly apologetic, but said he kind of lost track of time. And so he talked about coming down here and addressing the commission and saying, I have a problem with my report. Just going to, well, save your trip down. Because if you do that, it's going to get continued because we want you to file a report. And so he then submitted to me a request to have a matter not reconsidered, but continued. And so I said, get your report filed, send their response, and we'll get you back on a subsequent hearing of the commission. And all the remainder on this page are matters where we have not gotten good mail service sufficient time. And so I'm recommending that we continue all the rest of the matters for service. And Madam Chair, you can continue those if you're so inclined.
Okay, and I'll read the case numbers for our clerk here. The first one was 2024 R-196. All of these are 2024 R. Next one is 220-167-178-184-190-194, 197-198, 202, 203, 204, 205, 211, 212, 213, 214, 215, 216, 217, 223, 224, 226, 227. And we will continue those for service orders. Now we're into the reconsiderations. We have 3 cases under this first reconsideration. 2023R, all are 2023R, 363, 387, and 485. Mr. Executive Director.
Yeah, I would look at all of these as kind of standard reconsideration cases. We made a finding, imposed a per day, the $25 per day fine. In the intervening period, the report of the the candidate and treasurer got the committee into compliance, filed the report. They're now coming back seeking reconsideration. And so my recommendation is to reconsider all those matters and impose, after we reconsider them, vacate the per diem fine and instead impose a fine of $100.
Any questions of the Executive Director? Is there a recommendation? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It has been approved by a vote of 7-0. The next case is number 75 on your agenda. It's case number 2023R-564. Mr. Executive Director.
Yeah, this was one where we made a finding against the committee. Yeah, we actually imposed a $100 fine, but in the intervening period, the board reached back out to us and said they discovered that the report was timely filed. And they asked us to reconsider the matter and would allow it to be withdrawn. And so that is the recommendation that I'm making, is that we reconsider the matter, vacate the previous finding, and instead allow the matter to be withdrawn at the request of the Board of Elections.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you very much. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That has been approved by a vote of 7-0. And I believe that ends our agenda for the cases.
That resolves the printed agenda. I will, and, Mr. Caraway asked me to do a little bit of extra work as it relates to the ongoing activities of the General Assembly. It'll be interesting to see where that whole thing goes as it relates to the potential impact on the commission. I got an email today, I'll respond to at some point with portal, because they're talking about some major changes for the commission. I don't look at it as there being any major changes to the commission's.
Have we had any cases before the commission that dealt with the foreign national violations?
No.
Okay.
No, we've never actually acted on a case like that. And what they're talking about doing is, I don't know, being a little bit more stringent with it. And if a case does come to the commission and we, let's say, find that is the case, what the General Assembly is wanting to change is we would refer it to the Attorney General's office to allow the Attorney General to proceed on that. Also, I guess if we right now, when we make referrals, we do it to the appropriate county prosecutor. Even if it's a statewide campaign issue. They're changing that to say it would change and go to the Attorney General's. We could send it along to the Attorney General's office. All for statewide offices. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For
So,
statewide.
okay.
But, but
it does not a,
Joe County Commissioner would still
Right,
go
it would
to
still go to the-
Claremont County or
Okay.
whatever, not to pick on Claremont County, but, it would go to a county office, yes.
But also.
But for statewide offices, yes, and violations of 13W go in. And I guess just to give, I didn't realize I was being that prescient when I did it, 3 years ago. But my vague recollection of what occurred is either somebody brought it to my attention. I saw this article about the FEC more or less punting on foreign involvement in ballot issues, more or less, because there are no federal ballot issues, there are only candidates. And so they had a request from somebody about those kind of circumstances. And I saw that come up and, reached out to the commission any number of years ago and just kind of said, hey, I think we should probably do something on this. And so, I mean, all the commission's opinion says is that, a more or less, it specifically says a ballot issue is a PAC. The ballot issue committee is a PAC because there isn't such thing as a ballot issue committee in the statute. When you create what you intend to be a ballot issue committee or creating a PAC, a political action committee. And so it was just to kind of define that, hey, realize a ballot issue committee is a PAC. A PAC is prohibited from receiving funds from foreign nationals. That's an improper contribution. So that's already out there. It was in statute. I mean, it's 30.1713 is what it says. They're messing with some of the language in there. But we've never had a case on that. And even here in the situation that they're talking about here, technically, the contribution that was made at one level, you could say that the contribution that was made that is causing all the ruckus, I guess I'll say, to the General Assembly was a proper contribution. It was from a 501c4 organization in Washington, D.C. that made a contribution to the state issue 1 ballot packet. Now, where they got the money from, where the 501c4 got the money from is potentially an issue. If you want to look at it in terms of the first, is the first dollar into that group that's not a proper contribution enough to spoil the fund so that it can make a contribution? That's an interesting question, which we've never had to address in this context before, that we would need to address in some manner or form. But in looking at the circumstances that have led to all this stuff, the contribution that was made was a proper contribution from an allowable source to that PAC at this point. So,
So Phil, what's the actual definition of a foreign nation?
they're trying to change it here a little bit.
I know what I think in my mind, but that's,
Yeah.
there's gotta be a legal definition for that.
But what it did say, I think, is, yeah, what it did, the original,
what it currently says.
right, what it currently says. Good point. Thank you very much. And it has the same meaning as the section 441CB of the Federal Election Campaign Act. That means any of the following: an individual who is not a United States citizen, oh no, I'm sorry, they're changing it. But so it refers to the FEC Act. And I've looked at that. I don't remember. I don't know that I'd be able to recite the specifics of it right now, but it's essentially someone who is not a citizen of the United States. Essentially, and what, in looking at what they're talking about doing here, they're taking that W provision that is about a paragraph in length and turning it into, a page and a half of explanations as it relates to the nature of the contribution, what a contributor is, and also defining an individual who is not a United States citizen or national, a government or foreign country, of a political subdivision of a foreign country, foreign political party, a person other than an individual that is organized under the laws of, or who has its principal place of business in a foreign country. So they're expanding it in that regard as well.
So let me ask you this. So if a labor union has members in Canada or Puerto Rico, and they contribute to a PAC, and you said individual, are they now can they do that? Just your opinion,
Puerto Rico is.
Still a US
Yeah.
territory.
well,
So you can't ask that.
Yeah.
let's just say Canada.
No, part of the issue that I had heard, was that, for example, the Catholic Conference had some issues because of the Vatican. And apparently, I'm not Catholic, but apparently the Catholic Church has a pretty robust political organization, whether it's a C4 or whatever. And so they had some concerns because of their ability to do what they do, every November, because in theory, they have foreign ties, I guess.
Yeah,
Be true. I mean, it's.
Could they
like
have
a-
two different campaign accounts?
I mean, that's.
One that they cannot use for political purposes, let's say it's a Catholic church. That they would have one that would be segregated from those contributions that go to political campaigns, ballot issues, et cetera, that could not receive those foreign dollars, and another one that they could, which could go for their operating expenses or for those areas that they could use those dollars in these United States.
And I think in looking at this, I think it's certainly possible that the situation about which you're speaking, could come into play and prohibit some sort of activity. Because what I'm reading here is what it says in.
Because I mean, most people probably think, that's why I asked the definition, most people think China or something.
Received.
Doesn't mean an individual, but according to that, it's an individual person. If you're not a United States citizen, that's why I asked the question.
Received directly or indirectly through another person.
Gotcha.
I mean, so it's expanding the definitional aspects of
And
that,
that person, they need organization, entity, it's not, yeah.
not individual.
Yeah.
Right, because I was gonna say, I could go way back to when, I had to differentiate between the use of the term individual and person
Right.
in an advisory opinion. In fact, shortly after I started in this position, because it related to, I'm gonna think it related to contribution limits. And they had to say, no, these particular sections talk about individual, not person. And so it only applies to an individual, so it expanded the definition of who could make contributions in the General Assembly, and then took that within a month. Changed one of the definitions to overcome my advisory, the commission's advisory opinion, I should say, not just mine. So, it certainly makes an expansion of that, but, the other thing is, I mean, it will take some work on somebody's behalf. Like, again, looking at the situation that is causing this to develop, I mean, if you're just looking at the Ohio organization's contributions and you see it coming in from all these, these various organizations, then you're gonna have to go back to the organization and look at their contributions to bring that to the commission's attention. I mean, I don't think it would be, now, I guess you could, just generally assert that a contribution from this group violates the statute and bring it to us. And then it would be a matter of trying to get the information that either confirms or denies that. But again, that's not where we are right now, and
I think-
that could be
And I actually think
commission
that
operation.
legislation may evolve even today. So really appreciate you looking into it. Because remember, you looked up the new House Bill 1, right? Because the House had reassigned because of a special versus a regular session, which is weird. In the Senate, obviously, I'm sure everybody's read some of the stuff they're working on. And I kept hearing and reading about the Attorney General taking that over. And that's what prompted my email to request it for you to do a little research on it. So
Yeah,
it doesn't really sound like we're impacted, other than the matter could still be filed with this commission. And rather than refer it over to a county prosecutor, if there's a violation, whatever, we would go to the Attorney General.
Right.
So it's
Right. Oh, and it still gives us an opportunity to impose fines or sanctions, or presumably even find good cause. That's not, but the other interesting thing I thought was the language in there as it relates to finding is commission would impose a fine of either $10,000 or 3 times the amount of the contribution, whichever is greater.
We can,
Oh, well, that has,
Whichever is greater.
that has some teeth.
Yeah,
Right.
which is a little different than most of the fines, legislative terminology that comes to us. I don't know if I would say it would be lesser, but, hey, 3 times or $10,000,
greater.
whichever is greater.
but I think
Okay.
it's going to, we're gonna see more frivolous complaints with this.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible. I can't.
No, just knowing behavior of people today.
Thank you, Mr. Richter. I'm not sure if any of my colleagues have any questions, but I appreciate that clarity.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't had a chance to look at the draft, and I'm sure there hasn't been an LSC analysis on it, because there hasn't been.
No, yeah, they just did this at some point yesterday, I think, once it got moved along.
If I may, to the schedule, yeah. Two commissioners on this side of the room, we were able to look at and see any potential conflicts that we had. So
Yeah, we need to take a look.
give that to you. I recognize that there being,
Are we talking about for 2025?
Yes.
Yeah.
I recognize that
I'm gonna-
one conflict does not necessarily disqualify that date, but
Might wanna check
I'm
that.
giving you
Some dates.
conflicts for Hagan and Caraway.
Yeah, and
Sure.
mine is not a certainty, it's just our annual conference fluctuates, so it had been 13th, 14th, and 15th of June last year, this year it's the end of the month. Yeah, back to that and run by,
You don't remember the specific dates that you highlighted.
and I just.
No, I looked
Alternate
through
one. So.
that. I agree. That's what that was-
I'm just wondering whether they can, I'll double check
Yeah,
that you sent to me and make sure that
I did not.
that I'm not switching something back to, reconflict.
I'll split you mine.
Okay, yeah, please.
I've done mine, but I still.
Okay. Thanks for the process. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Return.
Any other?
Not yet.
Any other questions, comments?
Sorry, no, I was getting ready to make a motion to adjourn, because I gotta get to Tommy's Diner for lunch.
All right, then.
Don't forget to check, like, if he's not, gotta get there a little bit early if you want to do.
Not that this is necessary, however, but I will not be present, so that.
Correct, and I did talk to Mr. Kolke yesterday, who said that he does not have conflict on that.
Is that the next meeting?
Yes.
I won't be here either, so.
I've already talked to him.
June 13th is our next
June 13th.
I'll be here for that.
I was just gonna give a reminder that
Yeah, we were just talking about.
we're gonna be in the new room downstairs for the next meeting, so just as a heads up.
Right.
Save you from having to come all the way up the elevator.
If you said that, like, highlighted, and I mean.
We'll be in the new room next meeting.
Yeah, the next meeting will be downstairs in the basement in B1.
To be one.
B1.
I'm sorry, I need a map of where that is.
You certainly go in the front door, go to the
Yeah,
right, down the staircase,
You
you're
come
there.
in the underground,
The
Yeah,
tunnel, it's right.
into the rice center,
Yeah,
then instead of going left and going through the
Turnstiles.
turnstiles.
You go right.
Just slightly turn right and the door is almost immediately on your left.
It was right behind where the trooper's desk used to be. I don't know if that was the case when you were here.
If you walk underground,
To be arrested.
restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. They for highway patrol.
Yeah, turn your-
walking from the garage, and then you got the, you got the glass doors that slide open.
Yeah.
You'll see all those glass doors, they're smoked, directly from, that's,
Been a concern.
it's right inside the garage on the basement.
Isn't Jayla?
So I go down, I should see it.
Yeah.
As soon as you go down the
Yeah.
escalators, it's there.
So if you came in from the garage, if you stayed straight, instead of turning left, you go past Jayla to come to the elevator bank to come up to the right.
You go right. and then it's right there.
So it's just.
Actually, if there was a door right in front, you could walk straight
Walk
through
straight
and
in.
walk straight.
Did you all-
Because that's where the room is.
Do you all figure out anything regards to security?
I'm gonna move to adjourn.
It's second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly sectioned, all in favor, say aye. Okay, in the future, let's cut the discussion so we can get, you're fine.